Chapter 258. Han Hao held me in his arms and gently patted my shoulder. "Darling, no matter what, I will always be by your side," he said softly. I nodded and looked at Xian's picture. "It's getting late, so we'll head back first. I'll come back to see you after a while. You have to wait for me." With that, Han Hao and I left the cemetery and headed home. When we got home, my parents, the Red Baron, and Shiza were already waiting for us in the living room. As soon as Han Hao and I stepped into the living room, Yi ran towards me from her mother's side. She looked at me and shouted, "Mommy, you're back." Seeing Yi run towards me, I quickly picked her up and hugged her tightly. "Yi, Mommy's back. Have you been obedient and listening to your grandparents? This time Mommy won't leave you again." I gently patted Yi's back. Hugging her like this made me feel very comfortable. At this time, Han Hao sat down on the sofa and looked at his parents. "Uncle, Auntie, Shaoli has been discharged from the hospital and I'm almost done preparing for the wedding. I will now formally propose marriage to you. I, Han Hao, would like to take your precious daughter, Cold Glaze, as my wife. I hope you will agree." Han Hao placed a bank card on the coffee table in front of my parents. He then looked at my parents and said, "This is the betrothal gift that my family prepared. There's 500,000 yuan inside. I know that this amount of money is too little for the Red Minghui, but this is a token of my sincerity. I promise you that I will treat Shaoli well, and after we get married, I will take Yi with me. I will definitely treat Yi as my own daughter. I will definitely do that." I looked at Han Hao's expression. My parents looked at Han Hao. The two of them looked at each other but did not answer. I stood up and walked to Han Hao's side. I held his hand and looked at my parents. "Dad, Mom, I really want to be with Han Hao. Through the time that we've spent together, I think you should be able to see that Han Hao and Yi hit it off very well. So, Dad, Mom, please allow me to be with Han Hao. We truly love each other." I held Han Hao's hand tightly, hoping that he could feel my sincerity. Han Hao also held my hand tightly. The two of us stood in front of my parents like this, as if we were about to make a very important decision. My parents looked at each other again. Then my mother looked at me and smiled. "Of course we agree. As long as you two are happy, we don't care about anything else. As for Yi, I've already discussed it with your father. If the two of you want to spend some time together, we can take care of Yi. That's not a problem as long as you two are happy. If you need us to prepare for your marriage, just tell us directly. If we can help, we will definitely help." When Han Hao and I heard that our mother had agreed, we both smiled sincerely. After chatting with my parents, Han Hao and I went upstairs to the bedroom. As soon as we entered the bedroom, I lay down on the bed as if I had just accomplished something important. Han Hao lay down beside me. He reached out his hand and gently stroked my hair. "Dear, you look very happy. Is it because Dad and Mom agreed to our marriage?" he asked in a soft voice. "Yes, Dad and Mom agreed to our marriage." I raised my head and looked at him, lying directly on top of him. I looked at Han Hao and smiled. Lying tightly in his arms, I whispered, "I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I'm really happy to be able to be with you like this. I always feel that happiness is just that simple. I have an indescribable feeling to have you. Silly, don't think about it. Wait for me. Wait for me. In 2 days I will marry you for real." Han Hao cupped my face and kissed me deeply on the lips. Happiness is really simple. My heart was pounding. I was going to marry Han Hao. I was a little excited. After preparing for a long time, the wedding day finally arrived. I woke up early and started to get busy. For my wedding with Han Hao, the Red Baron was my bridesmaid. Of course, Shiza was Han Hao's best man. Everything on the wedding day was arranged by the Red Baron and Shiza. They didn't need us at all. Han Hao and I were only responsible for being the main characters of the wedding. After I finished dressing up, my mother stood next to me and looked at me. "My daughter has really grown up. You've been smiling during your wedding. It looks like you're really happy. As long as you're happy, Dad and Mom are satisfied." Red Baron stood next to me. She looked very beautiful in her bridesmaid dress. She looked at me and smiled. Bride, don't be nervous today. I just contacted Caesar. They're already on their way here. They'll be here soon. My face was a little red. It looked like I was really nervous. Today was the flower girl. Early in the morning, she held her fairy wand and played happily with her friends. Thinking that she was about to hold her wedding with Han Hao, my heart was beating very fast. They're here. A voice came from the crowd. I stood in front of the bedroom window and saw that the motorcade had already arrived at the entrance. Han Hao got out of the car. He was wearing a black suit today and looked very handsome. I was so nervous that I didn't know what to do. Fortunately, the Red Baron told me what to do. After messing around at home for a while, Han Hao picked me up and went to the wedding banquet. While I was waiting in the dressing room backstage, the door to the dressing room was pushed open. Duan Ke walked in from outside. He looked at me and smiled. Congratulations on your wedding, Shaoli. You look very beautiful today. Thank you. Are Xinyao and Suri here? Xinyao is pregnant. Is she doing well? I looked at Duanmu Quebec. He was wearing a white shirt today and looked very simple. She's doing well. She's already here. Because it's too messy here, I was afraid that she would bump into something, so I asked Suri to accompany her to the table outside. I also came to see you. Do you need any help? Duanmu Ke looked at me. His expression was very calm. I didn't know if he was really calm or if he was just pretending to be calm. I'm fine here. You should go to the table. It's about to start. After the wedding, we'll have a good gathering. I looked at the time and said to Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu Ke thought for a moment, then walked to my side. He took out a gift box from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. He said softly, "This is the wedding gift I prepared for you. I don't know if you'll like it, but it's just a small gift. It's also what I owed you in the past. This time it's just the right time to make up for it. I hope you'll accept it." Chapter 259. I was stunned for a moment. Then I looked at the Duanmu Ke and nodded, accepting his gift. The wedding was about to begin, so the Duanmu Ke left the dressing room. I opened the gift box he had given me, and there was a beautiful bracelet inside. It looked very familiar. I immediately remembered it. When I was with the Duanmu Ke, we went shopping once and saw a bracelet. The bracelet was only a few hundred yuan, but I liked its style very much. Later, due to some other matters, I didn't buy the bracelet. After that, I gradually forgot about it. I didn't expect the Duanmu Ke to remember it. I looked at the bracelet and held it tightly. This was the best solution between me and the Duanmu Quebec. The wedding ceremony began as scheduled. Han Hao and I didn't invite too many people to our wedding. We only invited our relatives and friends, so the wedding wasn't very grand, but it was very warm. I stood in the greenhouse at the end of the stage and looked at Han Hao, who was standing on the stage. I couldn't hear what the host was saying, but I could only look at Han Hao, and my heart was rippling with happiness. I looked at Han Hao and he was looking at me too. His face was full of smiles. Then, background music started playing. Han Hao came to me with a bouquet of flowers. He knelt before me and handed me the bouquet. I took it from him. Han Hao stood up and hugged me tightly. He patted my back gently and said, "Don't be nervous. I will always be with you, my dear." Han Hao stood next to me. I held the bouquet and held his arm tightly as I snuggled up to him. It felt very sweet. The two of us walked to the middle of the stage and stood on the stage to look down. Those were the people closest to us. I saw Suri and Xinyao at a wine table. Xinyao looked much better, but she still looked listless. The wedding process was going on in an orderly manner. Young Shiza and the Red Baron had been busy. When the ceremony ended and it was time to toast, the few of us sighed in unison. It was finally going to end. We took the time to change into our dresses and toast to our relatives and friends. Today I was very happy. Han Hao was also very happy. Our parents were also very happy. Our relatives and friends were all very happy. Unknowingly, I had forgotten what it was like when Duanmu Ke and I got married. However, I would always remember what happened when he pressed me against the wall of the dressing room. It had been so long. Had he already forgotten about it? After sending off all the guests, I asked Uncle Bai to send my parents and Han Hao's parents back to rest. The few of us young people were left alone. I was so tired that I slumped on the chair and didn't want to move. Han Hao sat next to me. He held my hand tightly and said softly, "Honey, you must be tired. It's been hard on you. Let's go back and have a good rest later." At this time, Xinyao and Suri walked in front of me. Xinyao sat next to me and looked at me. "Sister-in-law, congratulations on your marriage. Fortunately, we made it in time for your wedding. We almost missed it." I reached out and touched Xinyao's belly. I asked softly, "Are you feeling better now? Is the pregnancy reaction still big?" Xinyao shook her head. "The reaction isn't that big. However, the baby is still not obedient. He always torments me. But there's nothing I can do. I still like him very much. Maybe it's because of motherhood." I was stunned. I looked at Suri and said, "Suri, your wife has changed a lot. She's not like before. She's a lot more mature." Xinyao smiled bitterly. "If it weren't for Mom and brother, I wouldn't have found out that something so big had happened at home. They didn't want to tell me. I grew up under the protection of Mom, Dad, and brother. Thinking about how I couldn't do anything when something so big happened at home, I suddenly felt very useless. I really feel sorry for them. On one hand, they had to deal with the club's affairs, and on the other, they had to hide it from me so that I wouldn't worry. Even Suri knew, but I didn't know. I really am an incompetent daughter." Tears streamed down Xinyao's face. Suri stood next to Xinyao and hugged her. "Good girl, don't cry. You can't be too emotional right now. Don't think too much. Didn't Xiao Kei say that the club is getting better? Everything will get better." I held Xinyao's hand. "That's right. Don't think too much. You can't think about anything right now. You have to give birth to the baby quietly. Your emotions are very important and they will affect the baby." I turned to look at Suri. "Suri, thank you for your hard work. You have to stay by her side during this time. I'm worried that she won't be able to take it. Prenatal depression has a great impact on pregnant women. You can't let her get sick at this time. It will affect her future." Suri nodded. "Don't worry, Mississippi. I will definitely take good care of Xinyao. You don't have to worry about the Kurosawa either. I will think of a way to help Xiao Quebec." He gave me a look. I guessed that he already knew about his father's scheme. Suri looked at me and said, "Okay, we won't disturb your rest. When we're done here you can go back. Xinyao and I will go back first. If there's anything, we'll contact each other." With that, Suri helped Xinyao up and left with her. Looking at their silhouettes, I didn't feel good either. Han Hao looked at me and softly said, "Wifey, don't worry. Everything will be fine." I looked at him and nodded. After we were almost done here, we left. The Red Baron and Yang Shiza had been busy the whole day. Yang Shiza pulled the Red Baron away. Recently, they had been so busy that I didn't know how much progress they had made. Han Hao and I returned to our new house. It was a villa in the suburbs. From the time we were about to get married to the time the house was renovated, Han Hao didn't bother me at all. He designed everything according to the style I liked. I liked it very much. Although it was much smaller than my house and Duanmu's house, it was enough for the three of us. He didn't come with me. My mother said that she wanted to give Han Hao and I some alone time, so she brought Yi back. Only when I was with Han Hao did I truly understand what marriage was, what a wedding was, and what life was. When you were with the person you loved, you could do anything with happiness. I thought that Han Hao would feel the same way. I was glad that I met him, glad that I became his woman, glad that he took care of my next life. But for some reason my heart felt empty, as if something was missing. Chapter 260. Just like that, Han Hao and I began our life together. Every day was very regular and busy, but we never forgot about the warmth between us. Less than a week after our marriage, we brought Yi back from her parents' place. When Han Hao was renovating the house, he had specially prepared a children's room for Yi to use. It was designed according to Yi's favorite style. It was quite luxurious. Before Yi arrived at the house, Han Hao had already prepared an entire wardrobe full of clothes for her. Yi was overjoyed when she arrived at the house. Seeing Yi happy made Han Hao very happy. When they were happy, I was also very happy. This kind of life was really blissful, just like what I had been looking forward to. One night, as usual, I was cleaning the house while Han Hao went to coax Yi to sleep. I saw Han Hao's laptop bag casually thrown on the sofa. I walked over to pick it up and wanted to hang it on the clothes rack, but my hand slipped and the laptop bag fell to the ground. The documents in the bag all fell out. I hurriedly picked up the documents and inadvertently saw a mortgage application form. My curiosity was piqued. I took a closer look. The address on the mortgage application form was very familiar. I thought for a moment, wasn't that the address of Duanmu's house? Why would Duanmu's house be mortgaged? Why would the mortgage application form be in Xiao Hao's bag? Could it be that Han Hao wanted to mortgage Duanmu's house without permission? I shook my head hard. Impossible, Han Hao wasn't that kind of person. I decided to confirm it first. I looked at the signature under the application form. It was none other than Duanmu, Quebec. Could it be that Duanmu K wanted to mortgage Duanmu's house? What was he trying to do? I rummaged through Han Hao's laptop bag and found copies of Duanmu K's ID and household register. There was also a copy of the real estate certificate. It seemed that the mortgage application was real. But why did this happen? I held the documents tightly and couldn't help but frown. I didn't know what to do. At this moment, Han Hao walked out of Yi's room. He was stunned when he saw me holding his briefcase. Then he walked over with his lips pursed. He walked up to me and looked at the documents in my hands. He said softly, "You saw it all. What's going on?" I handed the documents to Han Hao. I looked at him and said softly, "What's going on? Why is there a mortgage application form? Why does it have Duanmu K's signature? What's going on? What on earth has happened to the Black Nightmare Society that they even have to mortgage their residence?" Han Hao looked at me and sighed. The crisis of the Black Nightmare Society has never been resolved. Now, even the Black Nightmare Group is facing bankruptcy. In order to preserve the Black Nightmare Society, Kay had no choice but to sell off all the real estate in his family. Only then can he ensure that the Black Nightmare Society can survive. What about Caesar? Didn't Caesar say that he would buy the loss-making projects of the Black Viper Group? Why isn't it working yet? Caesar can only buy small projects. Although it can alleviate the Black Viper Group's crisis, it can't solve it. Xiao Kei has already decided to sell all of his properties. That way Duanmu Kei can protect Kurosawa. Although there's no other way, it's the only solution. Hearing Han Hao's words, it seemed like there really was no other solution. I clenched my fists. In other words, my father emptied out the entire Black Nightmare Group. Although I don't want to admit it, that's what he did. I couldn't hide it, and I didn't know how to do it either. I could only use my own abilities to think of a way to help little Quebec. I can't use the society's funds anymore. And if I do, my father will definitely find out. When that happens, I'm afraid that he'll do something to the Black Nightmare Society. So I'm sorry I hid it from you. Han Hao shook his head. He hugged me in his arms and said softly, "Wife, don't blame yourself. Actually, Duanmu Kei already knew about this for a long time. Although what Dad did was not right. He was also indirectly helping the Kurosawa invest. In front of the public, he couldn't directly help the Kurosawa, so he could only do it in this way. Of course, in the eyes of outsiders, it was an extremely despicable act, but I believe that Dad's real goal was to relieve the pressure on the Kurosawa. So don't say sorry. You did nothing wrong. Don't think too much." I leaned into Han Hao's arms and said softly, "But do we have to do this? Dad has already woken up. Did he and Mom know that Xiao Kei wants to sell his properties? They actually agreed. Why did they have to do this? The two of them are not in good health. How could they just casually find a place to live? Why did something like this happen? I couldn't help but cry. My heart ached. I thought for a moment and looked at Han Hao. Xiao Hao, take me to Duan Mu Kei's house tomorrow. I want to see Mom and Dad. I'm worried. Han Hao looked at me and nodded. Okay. Take Yi to the Early Childhood Education Center tomorrow, and we'll go there. I leaned into Han Hao's arms and felt very uncomfortable. No matter what, I had to get to the bottom of this matter. The next morning we woke up early. Han Hao and I took Yi to the Early Childhood Education Center. Then we went to buy some gifts and headed to Duan Mu Kei's house. Because Han Hao had told us in advance, we saw Duan Mu Kei as soon as we arrived at the door. He was waiting for us at the door. Looking at him from afar, I could feel his haggard appearance. We got out of the car and followed Duan Mu Kei into the bedroom. It had been a long time since we last saw him, and he seemed to have lost a lot of weight. As soon as we entered the living room, I saw Duan Mu Tachio and Xiao Fengya sitting on the sofa. The house was cold and cheerless, and it no longer had its former glory. Duan Mu Tachio and Xiao Fengya had also aged a lot. I tried my best not to cry. I sat down next to Xiao Fengya and held her hand tightly. Mom, how are you and Dad? I asked in a soft voice. Xiao Fengya nodded and said, We're fine. Although his father is awake now, he can't move. But this is also good. I can take care of him so that he won't be disobedient. Then Xiao Fengya smiled at me. It was a bitter smile. This forced smile made my heart ache, but I didn't know how to comfort her. Mom, I don't want to beat around the bush with you. Have you and Dad decided to sell the property? I asked Xiao Fengya directly. Chapter 261. When Xiao Fengya heard me say that, she suddenly froze. She sighed, nodded, and softly said, Yes, we've already decided to sell the real estate. Wait. After selling the house, where will you and Dad live? The villa in the suburbs. Did you sell it too? Did you sell all the real estate? But Dad, Mom, where will you live in the future? I looked at Xiao Fengya, my heart filled with worry. Xiao Fengya looked at me with a bitter smile and said, Your dad and I have been thinking about this for a long time. If we don't sell the real estate, then we might not even be able to keep Kurosawa. This is your father's life's work. How can we let it disappear from this world? So after thinking about it for a long time, we decided that we can live in an apartment in Kurosawa. It's already been arranged. There's an 80 square meter apartment that's pretty good. It's already been tidied up, and we'll move there in 2 days. The environment isn't bad, and us two old people don't need much space, so it's enough. We've also taken care of some of the messy things in the house, so when you come over today, it will be a bit quieter. I shook my head and looked at my mother and said, Mom, how can 80 square meters be enough? Mom, I'll find a place for you and Dad to live. Although the environment can't be compared to here, it's definitely better than that 80 square meter apartment. Mom, don't refuse me. You two old people have worked hard for most of your lives. How can I let you suffer such a big grievance? I won't allow it. Shaoli, I know you're doing this for our good, but your dad and I have already decided that living a simple life like this is better than anything else. As long as you children live well, it's fine. If you come and visit us when you're free, we'll be satisfied. Isn't that right, Dad? Xiao Fengya turned her head and looked at Duan Mu Tachio, who was sitting on the sofa. Duan Mu Tachio smiled and nodded. Xiao Fengya looked at me and cried. She reached out to wipe my tears and said, Shaoli, listen to me. Don't be sad. This is fate. Now that we're here, we have to live like this. We don't have any room to resist. Everything is fine now. Through this matter, our family has become more united. He has also matured a lot. When his father was sick, he worked very hard. He shouldered all the pressure in the Kurosawa by himself. When he came home, he never complained to us. Instead, he did everything he could to be filial to us. Has really changed. Seeing that he's sensible, we're very happy. Isn't that good? We also want to live a normal life. In the past, we started from nothing with Dad. Those are the days we cherish the most. Now we can reminisce about those happy times. This is also good. I wiped my tears and said softly, Mom, you and Dad must not suffer. I really do feel sorry for you. Really do. I don't know how to help you, but... As I spoke, I choked up again. Xiao Fengya took my hand and said, It's nothing. It's not like we haven't suffered before. It's just that K-er has suffered. Xinyao is fine. She married a good man like Suri and has her own life, so we don't have to worry about her. Her has never suffered before. I'm worried that he won't be able to bear it. I don't know how to comfort him. He's become very quiet recently. If you and Xiao Hao have the time, you should go and spend more time with him. Xiao Fengya gently patted my hand. I turned to look at Han Hao. He was also looking at me. Han Hao thought for a moment. He looked at Xiao Fengya and asked, Auntie Xiao, Xiao Ke was here just now. Where did he go? Xiao Fengya nodded. He should be in his bedroom. Recently he's been cooped up in his room. I don't know what he's doing. I stood up and looked at Han Hao. Xiao Hao, I'm going upstairs to check on Xiao Ke first. I'll be back in a bit. Han Hao looked at me and nodded. I asked for his permission because I knew that Han Hao trusted me. If he didn't worry about letting me go alone to look for Duanmu Ke, then he definitely believed that nothing would happen between Xiao Ke and me. I left the living room and went upstairs to Duanmu Ke's bedroom. I knocked on the door. First no one answered. I knocked again. Duanmu Ke's voice came from inside. He said softly, You don't have to call me to eat. I don't feel like eating. I sighed and pushed open the bedroom door. I saw Duanmu Ke sitting in front of his desk, holding a photo in his hand. He seemed to be lost in thought. I closed the door and quietly walked behind him. I saw the photo in his hand. It was a photo we had taken when we were on our honeymoon. In the photo, Duanmu Ke had his arm around my shoulder, and I was leaning against his chest. The two of us were laughing happily. I thought to myself, is he thinking of me? Duanmu Ke said softly, I said I don't want to eat. You don't have to call me. You can go out. I want to be alone. He reached out and gently stroked the photo. He looked very sad. What's the matter? You want to be alone so much. It's rare that Xiao Hao and I come over. Why don't you talk to us? I gently patted Duanmu Ke's shoulder. He quickly stood up and hid the photo behind his back. Xiaoli, why are you here? I didn't even notice. Are you here to call me to eat? Duanmu Ke's face turned red. He hurriedly stuffed the photo into the drawer. I looked at him and smiled. Then I turned to look at the room I used to live in. It wasn't as luxurious as it used to be. In other words, the entire bedroom had nothing but a bed, a wardrobe, a desk, and a stool. It was very cold. I stood at the window and looked out. I could see the garden and the rose pond in the garden. It was still there, and the flowers in the rose pond were very beautiful. Duanmu Ke looked at me in a daze. He said softly, Xiaoli, why are you here? Is there something wrong? I turned to look at Duanmu Ke and said, Xiao Ke, Mom said you've been cooped up at home a lot lately. Is there something on your mind? If there's something, tell me. We'll think of a solution together. Duanmu Ke was stunned. He turned his head and said softly, No, there's nothing wrong. I'm fine. Do you think you can hide it from me? Is it because you want to buy the property and you feel sorry for Mom and Dad? If Mom and Dad are willing, I can find a better place for Mom and Dad. It's definitely better than an apartment. Chapter 262. Duanmu Ke smiled bitterly and said to me, No need. Mom and Dad living in an apartment is pretty good. There's nothing bad about it. I don't care what happens to me. It's just that the two of them have to suffer with me. Duanmu Ke sighed and softly said, Now that I think about it, all of this seems to be revenge on me. Perhaps this is retribution, it's all my fault. All of this might be revenge on me for not treating you well. If I hadn't done so many excessive things to you, things wouldn't be like this now. But it's nothing, this is fate, I've already gotten used to it. I'm used to it. I looked at Duanmu K and said softly, don't think like that. There's no right or wrong. It's just as you said, maybe this is fate. But right now we have to work hard to change this bad fate. We have to make things better for ourselves and the people around us. That's the most important thing. Don't worry. Han Hao and I will always be by your side. I'll support you unconditionally. Duanmu K smiled bitterly. Support me? In what capacity? He looked at me, his eyes looking as if he wanted to see through me. I was stunned. Duanmu K laughed and said, forget it. You and little Hao already have a family, and I don't want to disturb your life. As long as you two live well, that's enough. I don't have the energy to care about these things right now. You guys take care of yourselves. Alright, I want to rest by myself for a while. You can leave first. If you stay here for too long, little Hao's thoughts will run wild. Duanmu K pushed my shoulder and walked toward the door. Wait a minute, little K, don't be like this, I'm not done yet. I struggled. After all, I hadn't convinced him yet, so I didn't want to leave yet. Just then, Duanmu K grabbed my arm and pressed me against the door. His face was right next to my ear, and I could feel his heartbeat. My heart was beating faster too. I said softly, little K, let go of me first. I'm not done yet, I'll leave after I'm done. I'll leave first. Duanmu K whispered into my ear. What are you talking about? Do you know? Just looking at you now makes me feel reluctant to part with you. But no matter how hard I try to control myself, I keep thinking, you're obviously mine, so why did I push you to Han Hao? Why did he have you instead of me? So don't let me see you again. I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself and will do something to you. After all, if I can't have you, then I want to destroy it with my own hands. Duanmu K's hands were tightly wrapped around my waist. I couldn't break free. I didn't know what to do. Duanmu K hugged me even tighter. He rested his head on my shoulder and pressed it against my face. He gently kissed my cheek. Duanmu K, you're going too far. Let go of me. I shouted. Duanmu K sneered. Your body is too fragrant, he whispered. I can't stop myself. What should I do? I want to have you right now. Duanmu K held my waist with one hand, while the other hand reached into my shirt and attacked my breasts. I hugged my breasts tightly and struggled. Duanmu K suddenly turned me around and pressed me under his body. He was too strong. I couldn't break free. Duanmu K looked at me and said, what's wrong? Are you scared? There's no other way. You're like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. I can do whatever I want. What can you do to resist? Call for help. I don't think Xiao Hao will be able to come up so soon. By the time he comes up, you'll have been ruined by me. What can I do? I can't fight. I've lost a brother, a friend, and a capable assistant. Why should I be afraid of losing? I've already lost enough. Nothing else matters to me anymore. Duanmu K looked at me. His expression looked like he wanted to eat me. I closed my eyes and didn't dare to look at him. I pushed his chest and said loudly, Duanmu K, you've gone too far. Xiao Hao and I have always treated you as our best friend. When you asked him to send the mortgage agreement to the bank, he hesitated. If I hadn't found out, he wouldn't have told me. He's been so good to you. You shouldn't lose him. You can't do this. Duanmu K, let go of me. Wake up. I struggled with all my strength, but I didn't dare to look at him. I didn't dare to look at his desperate face. At this time, Duanmu K suddenly let go of me. I opened my eyes and saw his back to me. His back was very sad. Duanmu K said to me softly, Go, Shaoli. Stay away from me. Have nothing now. Have no career. Have no power. Have nothing now. The only thing I have now is this heart that has always loved you. Duanmu K pointed to his heart. He turned around and looked at me. I saw tears of sadness in his eyes. Duanmu K continued, I know you can't belong to me anymore. I want to give up, but I can't. My heart is full of you. I can't let go of anyone else. But the more I care about you, the more I can't have you. When I saw you and Han Hao get married, my heart broke. I can't watch you be happy with someone else. This is not the result I want. But right now I can't compare to Han Hao. What right do I have to fight with him for you? Moreover, your heart doesn't belong to me anymore. Your heart belongs to Han Hao. Even my daughter calls Han Hao daddy. How ridiculous is this to me? Duanmu Ke smiled bitterly. Xiao Ke I looked at Duanmu Ke, but I didn't know how to comfort him. Duanmu Ke walked in front of me. He reached out and took me into his arms. He said softly, Xiaoli, I really love you. I really don't want to leave you. But I know I'm not good enough for you. Can you just let me hold you for a while? Just for a little while. I leaned into Duanmu Ke's arms. I suddenly felt sorry for him. I sighed and nodded. Duanmu Ke hugged me tightly. He didn't say anything, but I could feel that he was crying. Although he tried to control it, I could still hear him sobbing. I patted his back and said softly, Don't be sad. Everything will be fine. You still have us. You're not alone. So don't be sad anymore. The whole family depends on you. If you fall, what will happen to Dad and Mom? Xinyao is still young. She's relied on you since she was little. So you can't fall. Don't worry, we'll always be your strong shield. I could hear him sigh. Chapter 263. Duanmu Ke hugged me tightly, and I didn't resist at all. I just quietly felt his heartbeat. This feeling was like going back to the beginning, back to the time when the two of us loved each other. I wasn't sure if I still had him in my heart. Maybe I couldn't forget him, but I already had Han Hao. How could I think of someone else? At this moment, the bedroom door was pushed open and Han Hao's voice sounded. Xiao Ke, Xiaoli, Auntie asked me to call you to eat. Han Hao hadn't finished speaking when he was already standing at the door. Duanmu Ke quickly let go of me, and I also took 2 steps back. The three of us looked at each other awkwardly, and no one spoke first. At this time, Duanmu Ke took a step forward. He walked in front of Han Hao and softly said to Han Hao, Xiao Hao, don't misunderstand. I just felt uncomfortable, so I borrowed Xiao Li's shoulder to lean on for a while. Don't think too much. Han Hao looked at Duanmu Ke and said, Xiao Ke, there's no one else here, just the 3 of us. I hope you can tell me, do you still have Xiao Li in your heart? Have you never forgotten her? Duanmu Ke turned to look at me and then said to Han Hao, Xiao Hao, you really misunderstood. I don't have any feelings for Xiao Li anymore. You two are already married. If you ask this, it's a sign of distrust. So don't ask anymore. I don't have any feelings for her. Duanmu Ke reached out and patted Han Hao's shoulder. Han Hao suddenly shook off Duanmu Ke's hand and shouted, You're lying. Han Hao stared at Duanmu Ke and said, You're lying. You clearly have her in your heart. Otherwise, how could you not be willing to let go of her? How could you not be willing to throw away the photos of the 2 of you together? Even the wallpaper on your phone is a photo of the 2 of you together. How can you say that you've forgotten her? Why did you lie to me? Why don't you want to give her to me? I suddenly saw Han Hao so angry, and I didn't know what to do. Duanmu Ke just stared blankly at Han Hao and didn't speak. I walked in front of Han Hao and looked at Han Hao and said, Xiao Hao, you really misunderstand. I'm just comforting him. We have nothing to do with it. Don't be so angry at Xiao Quebec. Comforting. Do I need to throw myself into his arms to comfort him? You've always had Duanmu Ke in your heart, right? Otherwise, how could you be so impatient to be in the same room with him? Do you want to be with him? If you want to be with him, then just say it. I'll give you a chance. Isn't it just letting go? Can do it. Han Hao suddenly flipped out at me, scaring me. His hysterical appearance made me feel strange. Could it be that men really change after marriage? I looked at Han Hao and said softly, Xiao Hao, what's wrong with you? I didn't know what to say. Looking at Han Hao's horrified expression, I couldn't help but take 2 steps back, not knowing what to do. At this moment, Duan Mu Ke suddenly rushed in front of Han Hao. He stretched out his hand and heavily punched Han Hao in the face. Han Hao lost his balance and fell against the door. Han Hao covered his mouth and looked at Duan Mu Ke and shouted, "Yes, this is your style." Han Hao sneered, then jumped up and pushed Duan Mu Ke down. The two of them wrestled together. I didn't know what to do, so I could only stand on the side and try to persuade them. However, neither of them listened to me and continued to wrestle with each other. The two of them were evenly matched, and both of them were injured. The things on the table fell to the ground, and the glasses were broken. Just as the two of them were in the middle of their tussle, the bedroom door was pushed open. It turned out that our quarrel had traveled downstairs. Suri and Xinyao had just returned. They heard the noise upstairs and came upstairs. Xiao Fengya stood at the door and looked at me. Worried, she asked, "Xiaoli, what's going on? Why is it so messy inside? What's going on?" I turned to look at Surui and said, "Surui, hurry up and separate the two of them. I can't do it alone. Hurry up, they're both injured." Suri craned his neck and saw that Han Hao and Duan Mu Ke were still fighting. He quickly ran in and spent a lot of effort to separate them. I quickly hugged Han Hao while Suri tightly held onto Duan Mu Quebec. Han Hao still wanted to continue fighting with the Duan Mu Quebec. I tightly hugged Han Hao's waist and shouted, "Xiao Hao, stop messing around. Let's go home. We can talk about this when we get home, okay? Xiao Li, let go of me. Today's matter isn't over. Duan Mu Ke, I've always treated you as my brother. You don't cherish what I cherish, but now you want to fight with me. What are you thinking? Don't think that what you do is always right. You're just looking for excuses for yourself. Who do you think you are?" Han Hao's temper was really explosive. I simply couldn't control it. I quietly said to Han Hao, "Xiao Hao, stop messing around. Let's go home, okay? I beg you, don't mess around in front of our parents. This is also disrespecting them, okay? Go away. Don't worry about what I'm going to do." Han Hao threw me to the ground with all his strength. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. I fell to the ground right on top of the glass shards. There were many cuts on my arm and blood was oozing out. I reached out to cover my arm as I lay on the ground. It was so painful that I couldn't stand up. "Milady!" Suri shouted. He let go of Duan Mu Ke and ran to me. He reached out and helped me up. Then he looked at me and said, "Milady, are you okay? You're bleeding. Let me take you to the hospital first." I looked at Duan Mu Ke and Han Hao. The two of them were fighting again. I said to Suri, "Don't worry about me. Hurry up and pull them apart. Otherwise they'll fight even harder." At this moment, Duan Mu Tachio stood at the door and used his crutches to hit the ground. He shouted, "Stop!" Hearing Duan Mu Tachio's voice, Han Hao and Duan Mu Ke stopped fighting. The two of them stood to one side. Both of them were injured and their clothes were soaked with blood. They looked very miserable. Duan Mu Tachio walked into the bedroom. He glanced at me, then at Duan Mu Ke and Han Hao. He shouted, "What are you two doing? Look at you, you've injured Xiao Li. You're unreasonable. Xiao Hao, I won't tell your father about this. Take Xiao Li home first. We'll talk about the rest after you've calmed down. Duan Mu Ke, come with me to the study." Then Duan Mu Tachio and Xiao Fengya left. Duan Mu Ke sighed and turned to look at me. Then he followed them out of the bedroom. Chapter 264. Han Hao stood at the door, looking at me in shock. Perhaps he hadn't thought that he would attack me. He looked at me as if he wanted to say something, but I didn't know what to say. Then Suri looked at me and said softly, "Luckily the wounds aren't deep. There shouldn't be any scars, but they still need to be treated. Otherwise there will be problems." Suri turned to Han Hao and said, "Xiao Hao, why don't you take Missy to the hospital to treat her wounds first?" "No need. Suri, take me home first. I haven't seen my parents in a long time, so I'll take the opportunity to come back and visit them. Let's go. I struggled to stand up. When I walked past Han Hao, I glanced at him. He still had the same shocked expression. I sighed and walked past Han Hao. I walked out of the bedroom and the living room, and followed Suri out of Duanmu's house. After we got into the car, Xinyao looked at me and said softly, "Sister-in-law, are you okay? You haven't been in a good state since just now. Are you okay?" I shook my head and looked at Xinyao. "I'm fine. Don't worry." I didn't know when, but my feelings for Han Hao had changed. I knew that he still loved me, and this feeling had never changed. However, his love for me was very selfish. He wanted me to belong to him alone, and that wasn't wrong. The only thing wrong was that I still had selfish feelings for Duanmu, Quebec. To be honest, I still had feelings for him, but I didn't know how to control these feelings. I just pitied him. Seeing him in such a state, my heart ached. He was a young master, but now he had fallen to the point where he had to rely on himself for everything. My heart ached for him. Was it wrong to care for him? I tried very hard to control my feelings. I also understood my own thoughts. I was willing to be with Han Hao for the rest of my life. But why didn't Han Hao believe me? Am I really that unworthy of his trust? While my mind was wandering, we arrived at the door. I heaved a sigh of relief and calmed myself down. I got out of the car and walked into the living room. My parents and the Red Baron were sitting in the living room. When I walked in, they were stunned when they saw the wounds on my body. The Red Baron reacted quickly. She took out the first aid kit and pushed me down on the sofa. Then she began to treat my wounds. My mother was worried. "Lear, what happened to you? Why are there so many wounds on your body?" I looked at my mother and smiled. "Mom, it's nothing. I just accidentally fell and got bruised." His mother looked out the window and said softly, "Why didn't Xiao Hao come back with you? Your father and I haven't seen Yi for a long time. When are you going to bring Yi over for us to see? Xiao Hao has something to do, so he won't be coming over tonight. Mom, I'll be staying at home tonight. Don't call me for dinner later. I'm not hungry. You guys can eat." I turned to look at Suri and said softly, "Suri, please bring Yi over." "Dad and Mom miss Yi. Thank you. I'm going upstairs. You guys can chat." Then I stood up and walked upstairs. I heard my mother calling me, but I didn't know how to explain it to her. So I decided not to tell her. I went into the bedroom and locked myself in the room. I lay on the bed, tears flowing uncontrollably. The pain in my heart had completely drowned out the pain in my body. At this moment, the bedroom door was suddenly pushed open. Red Baron walked in from outside. She closed the door behind her and looked at me. "Did the couple quarrel?" she asked. "Did they hit each other? You've suffered so much. On the surface, you don't want the president and his wife to know, but in reality, you're really bad at hiding it. I came up right after I comforted you. So what's wrong with you? If there's anything, just say it." I sighed and looked at the Red Baron. Maybe it's because we've been together for too long, but I feel like Han Hao's love for me is becoming more and more selfish. Just because Duanmu K wanted to hug me for a while, he wouldn't let go of Duanmu K and even hit him. I couldn't control myself at all. He wasn't like this in the past. Do you know how pitiful Duanmu K is now? He has nothing now, and I just wanted to comfort him. Han Hao got into a scuffle with him. You can't solve the problem by staying quiet like this. I think he'll be here soon. Have you thought about how you're going to talk to him? No matter what, you have to talk to him properly. Don't let your emotions affect your decision. If you don't talk to him clearly, it might affect the relationship between the two of you. So you have to think clearly about what you're going to say. The Red Baron looked at me and said softly, "Originally I had good news to share with him. But now, it doesn't matter to him whether I tell him or not. Sigh, poor child. Maybe my body is like this. My temper is bad when I'm pregnant." I reached out and touched my belly. The Red Baron was stunned. She looked at me and said, "What? You're pregnant? Isn't that a good thing? Why don't you tell him? He'll be very happy if he knows." I pursed my lips and said, "Why should I tell him?" Luckily, nothing serious happened when he pushed me. His arm was only slightly scratched. If the child was hurt, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Actually, I was very happy that I was pregnant with Han Hao's child. No matter how much he doted on Yi, she wasn't his own child. But now that I was pregnant with his child, he would definitely be very happy. This way we would have a perfect explanation for both sides' elders. Everything would develop towards a beautiful future. But today something like this happened. Was it really because I couldn't bear to part with Duanmu-Ke? Or was it because Han Hao was too sensitive? This was something that I couldn't be sure of, and there was no need to ask him about it face to face. Even if I did, it wouldn't be good. It was at this moment that there was a knock on the door. The Red Baron opened the door and saw that it was the housekeeper. She looked at me anxiously and said, "Young mistress, Han Hao's son-in-law is here. He's downstairs chatting with master and madam." I quickly came up to report to young mistress. "He really came, and he came so quickly." I nodded and said softly, "Okay, I got it. You can go down first." I turned to look at the Red Baron and said, "Red Baron, you go ahead. If he wants to come up, let him. Can handle it." Chapter 265. The Red Baron sighed. She turned around and walked out of the bedroom. After a short while, the bedroom door was pushed open. It was none other than Han Hao. I glanced at him. His expression wasn't very good. I didn't say anything and turned to look out the window. After Han Hao walked in, he closed the door and turned to look at me. "Are you going to be so cold to me?" I didn't look at him. "I'm not," I said softly. "I just want to be alone right now. That's all." "So you mean you don't want to talk to me?" Han Hao walked to my side. He put one hand on the wall and looked at me. His expression looked like he wanted to eat me up. He sighed. "No, I didn't say I didn't want to talk to you. I just said I wanted some peace and quiet, and I don't want to fight with you. So, can you not push me like this? I don't feel comfortable." "Uncomfortable? You and Duanmu-Ke hugging is very comfortable, right?" Han Hao put his hands on my shoulders and shouted at me. "You were so intimate with him. Were you purposely trying to provoke me? Or have you rekindled your feelings for him? What am I in your eyes? I'm just a substitute for Duanmu-Quebec." Han Hao grabbed my shoulders hard. I could already feel the pain. I shouted, "Han Hao, let go of me. You're hurting me. Little K and I really have nothing to do with each other. I already explained to you that he just wanted to lean on my shoulder for a while. Nothing happened. Why don't you believe me? You didn't believe me from the beginning. I told you, you're the only one in my heart. It's true." Han Hao suddenly grabbed my hand and pressed me against the wall. I couldn't move. He put his face next to my ear and whispered, "Is that so? That's what I saw. You can explain it that way. What if there's something I didn't see? How would you explain it? Or is it that Duanmu-Ke gives you more happiness than I do? Why would you choose him over me?" "Xiao Hao, what's wrong with you? You weren't like this before. Why did you become like this? I'm really scared. You promised me that you wouldn't let me be wronged, but what is this now?" My tears flowed down uncontrollably. This can't be real. The Han Hao in front of me is definitely not the man who said that he would love me for the rest of my life. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. Love will deteriorate after the preservation period. Han Hao looked at me and sneered. He held my hands with one hand and stroked my waist with the other. He looked at me and smiled. "You like it like this, right? You will only like it when I force you, right?" Han Hao's hand reached into my clothes and wandered around without restraint. I couldn't break free at all. I could only twist my body. My heart resisted. Han Hao looked at me and smiled. "It's useless. You can't break free. Speaking of which, we haven't had sex for a long time. Since you want to, I'll satisfy you." Han Hao buried his head in my neck and sucked on it. Closed my eyes. This numbing feeling made me feel helpless. Xiao Hao, let me go. My body doesn't allow it. I can't have sex with you. Don't do this. Let me go. Tears flowed down my face uncontrollably. But no matter how much I struggled, Han Hao didn't have any intention of letting me go. He looked at me and unbuttoned my shirt one by one. I closed my eyes and didn't dare to look at him. Han Hao looked at me and smiled bitterly. Duanmu K must be obsessed with your body. It's a feeling that makes one unable to stop. It's not that I don't love you, and I don't want to do this to you. But when I see you so close to Duanmu K, I'm really angry. I already have you, but why do you still allow him to touch you? I can tolerate anything else. He can step on my head, he can humiliate me, but he can't snatch you from me because you are mine. Han Hao's possessiveness made me feel scared. I didn't know when his love for me had become so selfish. Moreover, there was a lot of distrust between us. Was it just because of Duanmu K? It shouldn't be. This distrust should come entirely from his insecurity. I loved him very much, and seeing him like this made my heart feel very uncomfortable. Just as my thoughts were running wild, Han Hao had already torn my shirt. My upper body was naked in front of him. I struggled even harder, but Han Hao didn't stop. His hand reached for my thigh and slowly moved up. Seeing that he was about to touch my most sensitive part, I had no choice but to shout, "Xiao Hao, wait a minute. I have something to tell you." Hearing me say that, Han Hao stopped. Han Hao looked at me and said softly, "You want to stall for time? That trick won't work on me. Say it. What do you want?" "I'm pregnant." I looked at Han Hao and said softly, "What?" Han Hao looked at me in disbelief. He let go of my hands and asked confusedly, "What did you say? You're pregnant. When did this happen?" "It's been more than a month. If you don't believe me, you can check my bag." I pointed at my bag and said, "There's a medical report in my bag. I'm 6 weeks pregnant. Take a look for yourself." I watched him let go of my hands. I hugged my chest tightly. Han Hao still didn't believe me. He really went to check my bag. I took the opportunity to walk to the wardrobe and take out a random shirt to put on. Han Hao really did find the medical report in my bag. He read it very carefully. After a while, he suddenly looked up at me and said, "It's true. You didn't lie to me. We finally have a child that belongs to both of us." Han Hao was very happy. He walked in front of me and hugged me tightly. He looked at me and said softly, "Honey, I'm sorry. I went too far just now. Please don't be angry. I really love you too much. I was afraid that you would leave me. That's why I became like that. Don't be angry." Han Hao gently stroked my hair. He had finally changed back. He was no longer that devil. I sighed and said, "I wanted to give you a surprise 2 days later. But I didn't expect you to be so hot-tempered. You actually started a fight in Duanmu's house. What do you want me to do?" Chapter 266. Han Hao said softly, "All right, don't be angry. I know I was wrong. I won't do it again. Honey, let's go home. We still have to pick up E. I've already asked Suri to bring E here. I don't want to be angry with you. I hope you can understand what I mean. Let's stay here tonight. I haven't spent time with my parents in a long time. You can go talk to them later. They might think that we're angry, so don't make them worry. I won't go. I've been busy for a long time today and I want to rest." I looked at Han Hao and shook my head helplessly. Han Hao nodded. "All right, I got it. You rest well. I'll go down now. Should I call you for dinner later?" "No need. You guys go ahead. I'll go down to find food when I'm hungry." "Oh." I smiled and looked at Han Hao. He turned and walked out of the bedroom. I let out a long sigh. I didn't know if his anger had really subsided or if he was faking it. After Han Hao left for a while, I sent a WeChat message to the Red Baron and asked her to come to my bedroom. Not long after, the Red Baron came in. She saw that I looked better and asked softly, "What happened? The two of them have reconciled. I nodded and said, You can say that. But I really don't know what he's really thinking. Maybe he already thought that I wasn't sincere to him. If he really thinks that way, I won't be able to change his mind. Because once an impression is set, it's hard to change it. I'm afraid that he will be like that. Did you tell him about your pregnancy? The Red Baron walked to the window. She bent down and picked up my clothes that Han Hao had torn. She was stunned for a moment. Then she turned to look at me and shrugged helplessly. She continued, Do couples nowadays like to force themselves on others? So hot. My face turned red. I didn't know how to answer the Red Baron's question. I looked at her and said, Of course not. Who knew that he would tear off my clothes so violently? I told him that I was pregnant. Otherwise, how could he be appeased so quickly? Now his focus is on the baby, so this is a good thing. At least for the baby, he won't do anything to me for the time being. I just feel that Han Hao has changed too much recently. Let's not talk about this for now. Let me tell you something very serious. I just received the news myself. You probably already know about it. It's about the Black Viper Group declaring bankruptcy. The Black Viper Group has decided to officially declare bankruptcy the day after tomorrow. Even though the company is bankrupt, the Kurosawa still exists. The Red Baron's expression suddenly changed as she spoke to me in a serious tone. I nodded and said, I know about this. I heard from Xiao Kei and the others. Even though we helped him, there was nothing we could do to reverse the situation. I really feel that it's a pity. Such a big company is gone just like that. It's still too early for you to feel pity. You'll be even more shocked after hearing what I'm about to tell you. You'd better be mentally prepared. The Red Baron threw the clothes into the bin next to me and sat down next to me. I smiled bitterly and looked at the Red Baron. What can't I experience? I've already experienced so much. No matter what happens, it's all the same to me. Other than my family and friends being safe, nothing else matters to me. In other words, the Red Minghui annexed the Kurosawa and became the biggest power in a city. I think Duanmu Tachio already knew about this, but there was nothing he could do to reverse the situation. Rather than that, he might as well sell off all his assets and start from scratch. They're old and it's time for them to fight in the Duanmu Kei's era. Using this reason to retire isn't a bad thing. This is something Duanmu Tachio knows better than anyone else. He probably silently admitted his failure and retired with his entire family. This isn't something an ordinary person can do. The Red Baron calmly told me what she knew. After hearing what she said, I suddenly froze. 70% of the Kurosawa's projects had been transferred to Red Minghui. If it was really like what the Red Baron said, then Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya must have known about it a long time ago. But even though they knew the truth, they were still as kind to me as before. What kind of magnanimity was this? I clenched my fists and looked at the Red Baron. No, I'm going to talk to my father. After saying that, I stood up and walked towards the door. The Red Baron pulled my arm and said softly, Young miss, you can't go now. What can you change even if you go? It's best if you don't talk to the chairman about this. Also, I believe that the chairman already knows that you and Madam have been embezzling funds to help the Kurosawa. He's just turning a blind eye to it. If you go and talk to him openly now, he'll definitely fly into a rage. When the time comes, it's possible that the acquisition won't just be 70%. What if it's even more? That could even endanger the existence of the Kurosawa. The Red Baron's advice wasn't unreasonable, but I really didn't listen. I didn't think that my father was such a person who would take advantage of other people's difficulties. I turned to look at the Red Baron and said, Red Baron, I understand what you mean, but I don't want to think about it so much right now. I have to talk to my father. This conversation is 3 or 4 years late. I have to make it clear to him. Seeing that I was so determined, the Red Baron sighed helplessly and said, all right, we'll do as you say. But the chairman isn't home. He has a meeting to attend, so he went over. He should be in the meeting now. You should wait until he's done with the meeting before you talk to him. I sneered and said, That's good. This matter can be discussed in front of all the members. I shook off the Red Baron's hand and walked downstairs. Seeing that she couldn't stop me, the Red Baron had no choice but to follow me downstairs. When I arrived downstairs, I saw Han Hao and my mother chatting happily. Suri and Xinyao were sitting next to them and chatting happily. I walked around the sofa angrily and walked towards the door. I heard Han Hao calling my name behind me, but I didn't have time to pay attention to him. I just kept walking forward. Nothing could beat the anger in my heart right now. Chapter 267. Red Jew shrugged helplessly and said, Don't think too much. I just came to follow you. I'm afraid that something will happen to you. At least you can be safer with me by your side. If you do something uncontrollable, I can stop you. Red Jew sighed and said, Don't think too much. I just came to follow you. I'm afraid that something will happen to you. At least you can be safer with me around. If you do something uncontrollable, I can stop you. If I can stop you, I can stop you. I sighed. All right. If you're with me, you'll be able to control me. What if I can't control myself? You'll have to hold me back. All right, let's go. Today is going to be a fierce battle. We have to be prepared. Then I started the car and drove towards the Red Minghui clubhouse. Along the way, I had thought of countless possible scenarios. But no matter what, I had to tell my father that he had to give up on the project he acquired from the Kurosawa. If possible, he had to return it to them. I knew that this was going to be a fierce battle, but no matter what, I had to give it a try. Soon we arrived at the entrance of the Red Minghui clubhouse. After parking the car, I got out of the car. As soon as I entered the Red Minghui clubhouse, I saw a very familiar figure in the crowd. I was stunned for a moment, but the more I looked at her, the more familiar she seemed. The Red Baron was stunned when she saw me. She walked up to me and asked in a soft voice, Young lady, what's wrong? Who did you see? I pointed at the familiar figure and asked the Red Baron, Red Baron, don't you think that person looks familiar? It's like I've seen her somewhere before. I don't know why, but she looks very familiar. But I can't remember who she is. The Red Baron looked in the direction I was pointing at. After a while, she suddenly froze. She looked at me and said in a soft voice, Young lady, I remember now. That woman was the Kurosawa secretary Li. Why would she appear in the Red Minghui? After hearing the Red Baron's words, I realized that she really was the Kurosawa secretary Li. She was the secretary Li who stole the Kurosawa's internal funds and sold them to others. Then she escaped with a huge amount of money. She wasn't wearing glasses, and her long hair was now short. If it wasn't for the Red Baron's sharp eyes, I wouldn't have been able to guess. But why was she here? Could it be that the Red Minghui had taken her in? Impossible. How could such a scumbag become a member of the Red Minghui? I clenched my fists and walked towards her. When I was behind her, I reached out and grabbed her shoulder. She turned around and looked at me. First she was stunned. Then she screamed. Everyone around us looked at us. I grabbed her shoulders tightly. She was so scared that her legs gave way and she fell to the ground. I extended my leg and kicked her to the ground. More and more people were gathering around us, but I didn't care about that anymore. I stepped on her chest and looked at her, asking loudly, Why are you here, you traitor who sold out the Black Nightmare Society? Tell me, why are you here? The onlookers saw that I was really angry, but no one dared to come forward to stop the fight. Maybe it was because of my identity. The Red Baron just stood beside me and looked at me quietly. He didn't come forward. Secretary Li was so scared that she was trembling. She was lying on the ground and holding my leg tightly, afraid that I would hurt her. She looked at me and said softly, Young miss, don't be like this. Can you let me go? Me go. I will definitely tell you the truth. Young miss, I beg you. Her voice was trembling. I didn't want to let her go. I raised my foot and stomped on her chest. I looked at her and shouted, "Don't you understand what I'm asking you? I'm asking you. Why are you here? Answer me if you don't understand." I raised my voice. The onlookers were so scared that they took 2 steps back. Secretary Lee was so scared that she didn't dare to speak. She was still under my foot and cried loudly. At this time, the Red Baron came forward. She patted my back gently and whispered in my ear, "Young miss, there are too many people here. You have already caused a big impact. Now there are more and more onlookers. If this reaches the chairman's ears, he will definitely scold you. Let's find a meeting room first and torture her. I have a lot of methods." The Red Baron gave me a meaningful look. I immediately understood the Red Baron's meaning. I let go of the foot that was stepping on Secretary Lee. The Red Baron was afraid that she would run away, so she directly locked her hands behind her back and dragged her away from the crowd. I followed the Red Baron to a hidden meeting room. After bringing Secretary Lee in, the Red Baron locked the door. I reached out and grabbed Secretary Lee's collar. I looked at her and asked loudly, "Speak. Why are you here?" I'll speak. Secretary Lee seemed to be really frightened. I let go of her collar and looked at her. She sat on the floor and softly said, "Young miss, you may not know this, but I have always been a member of the Red Minghui. It was the chairman who arranged for me to work in the Kurosawa so that it would be easier for me to steal Kurosawa secrets. I have been a spy in the Kurosawa for 10 years. During these 10 years, I climbed to the position of Secretary Lee with great difficulty and gained the trust of Duanmu Tachio. Later, because of the Kurosawa incident, I had no choice but to beg the chairman to come back. The chairman agreed, so I came back." I looked at her with a cold smile and said, "The Kurosawa company's internal fund deficit and the company's shares were all you're doing, right? Don't tell me you didn't know about this. No one is an idiot. Don't think I don't know about this." I glared at her, and she was so scared that she moved back. Secretary Lee looked at me and said, "Miss, I'm really innocent in this matter. I admit that I stole their company's internal funds, and also transferred some of their company's scattered shares. Because some people wanted to buy these shares at a high price, I couldn't resist the temptation, so I sold these shares privately. But I didn't bankrupt their projects. The Black Nightmare Society's current development has nothing to do with me. Actually, when you and Duanmu K got married, the Black Nightmare Society's internal situation was already very bad. If it weren't for Duanmu Lixiong relying on his own connections to maintain it, the Black Nightmare Group wouldn't have dragged on until today to declare bankruptcy. I swear this really has nothing to do with me. Really, you must believe me, I only did this for the Red Tea Party." Chapter 268. You really know how to find excuses for yourself. Don't push everything onto my father. You said that you did this for the Red Tea Society. Since you've already admitted that you stole the Black Nightmare Society's funds, and you've also admitted that you transferred their shares, you kept a portion of the stolen funds for yourself, and gave a portion to the Red Tea Society, right? And the transferred funds were gathered under the Red Tea Society's name through various channels. In other words, it was my father who made you steal the funds and transfer the shares. He used some methods to gather the shares under the Red Tea Society's name. As for the funds that were supposed to be handed over in full, you should have kept a portion for yourself. You're probably going to ask me how I knew about this, so let Red Baron explain it to you. I turned to look at the Red Baron, and the Red Baron nodded. She walked up to Secretary Lee and smiled. "I'm sorry. Ever since she found out that you stole the Kurosawa shares and funds, Missy sent me to investigate you. Less than a month after you left the Kurosawa, you bought a villa in Malaysia and invested in a local project. All of these investments add up to about 50 million renminbi. Based on your salary, it's impossible for you to have saved up this amount of money with your salary. Based on this reasoning, it's definitely not the money you earned through proper channels. You used it for your own personal use, and you can't use it within the country. Isn't that right?" Secretary Lee didn't know what to say after hearing the Red Baron's words. She stared at us with wide eyes. I sneered and looked at her. What's wrong? You can't deny it. Do you really think I'm an idiot? If he knew, you definitely wouldn't be alive now. Don't worry, I'll definitely tell father about this. I don't need to deal with your life. I'll let father deal with you. You actually have the guts to show up at the Red Tea Society. You really don't know how the word death is written. I turned around and sat on the chair, looking at her as I yelled. Speak. What else did you do that you didn't tell me? Tell me the truth, or don't blame me for being rude. Secretary Lee was so scared that she couldn't speak. She just sat there and cried. Her cry was heart-wrenching. The Red Baron walked over to me. She handed me the recorder pen and said softly, I've recorded everything you just said. Give it to the president later. I looked at Secretary Lee's ugly crying face. I sighed and said, Make a copy and send it to me. I think Xiao Kei needs to know about this matter. Also, it's best to hand her over to the Kurosawa. I'll do my best to make my father hand her over. Perhaps that's the best solution. If Duanmu Tachio knows that my father bought his shares, he'll be very disappointed. Right at this moment, there was a series of rapid knocks on the door. Then my father shouted, Open the door! Cold Glaze, you've gone too far. You actually dare to kidnap your father's people in his territory. Hurry up and open the door. The knocks on the door were deafening. I knew that my father was angry. The Red Baron looked at me and said softly, Young lady, what should we do? The president seems to be angry. Why don't you leave first? I'll take care of this. I let out a long breath and looked at the Red Baron. No, I'll take care of this. Later, you'll be responsible for protecting Secretary Lee. Don't let her be taken away by my father's people. I have to hand her over to Duanmu Tachio. This isn't something we can handle. I walked to the door and opened it. I saw my father's gloomy face. Sure enough, he had brought a few people with him and was standing at the door. My father looked at me and said in a low voice, Someone take Secretary Lee back to my office and watch over her. The people behind my father tried to enter the room. I grabbed a broom from the side and knocked one of them to the ground. My father glared at me and shouted, Someone take the young lady away too. I'd like to see who dares. I didn't lower my head to my father. I shouted, pointing at my belly. I'm carrying the Red Minghue's grandchild. If you dare touch me and something happens to the child, I'd like to see who dares to take responsibility. After I said this, my father's face visibly darkened. He clenched his fists tightly. My father couldn't argue with me. He sighed and his tone visibly calmed. You all can leave. I'll talk to the young lady. He looked up at the Red Baron and Secretary Lee. You all can leave too. I looked at the Red Baron and said, Red Baron, take her to a secluded place. I'll come find you later. My father helplessly waved to the people behind him. After everyone left, only my father and I were left in the room. My father found a chair and sat down. He looked at me and said softly, Can't you leave Secretary Lee to me? I shook my head. Well, she deserves it. She caused the Kurosawa to become like this. She should pay for what she did. Besides, it won't affect the Red Minghui. If the Kurosawa are serious and they find out that all the shares have been transferred to the Red Minghui, then we'll have problems. My father laughed coldly. Problems? Do you think I'm afraid of them? If I was really afraid of them, I wouldn't have done what I did. A mountain can't have two tigers. In a city, he and I can't coexist. When you and Duanmu Kei were together, we could maintain this coexistence for the sake of a marriage alliance. But after you divorced, what reason do I have to maintain it? We're clearly doing better than them, so why should we accommodate them? The business world is like a battlefield. This is a society where the strong preys on the weak. I don't think I did anything wrong. I bought the shares with my own money. The money from selling the shares is enough for them to retire. I'm already very merciful and didn't kill them. Dad! When I lived with the Duanmu family, they treated me very well. What you did was too much. Didn't you consider the relationship between our families? It was because of such a big thing that their family was torn apart. Now Xinyao is pregnant and her emotions are fluctuating. The doctor has already advised her not to give birth. Chapter 269. My father sneered. He looked at me and said, "But what does that have to do with me? Their family's fate is like this. Therefore it has nothing to do with me." I clenched my fist, feeling that there was no need to talk with my father anymore. I looked at my father and said loudly, "Forget it, I don't think I need to talk with you anymore. I won't hand Secretary Li over to you. I will hand her over to the Duanmu Tachio and let them deal with her. Also, I don't think you know that the things you asked Secretary Li to do, she embezzled a lot of benefits for herself. If that money belongs to the Red Minghui, then she is embezzling it for herself. Therefore I can't hand Secretary Li over to you." After saying that, I turned around to leave the room. My father said softly behind me, "Li, if you want to hand Secretary Li over, I won't object. She's already useless. To me, her life and death has nothing to do with me. As a father, I hope that you won't get involved in this matter anymore. The deeper you sink into it, the more you won't be able to extricate yourself from it. I also understand that Duanmu Lixiong and his family are very good to you, but for the survival of our Red Tea Society, I must eradicate them from the business world." I stopped and said softly, "This is the worst excuse I've ever heard. From now on I, Cold Glaze, will no longer be a member of the Red Minghui. That's it. You can continue to guard your business. If you really want to find someone to inherit it, then pass it to someone else. I don't want to live in such a heartless place anymore. It's suffocating me." I opened the door and walked out. I walked towards the coordinates given to me by the Red Baron. Along the way, my feelings were very complicated. When I thought about it carefully, my father's words were not unreasonable. I believed his reason for being worried about me. He was right. I had always treated the Kurosawa as my family. I had never thought that they would be our competitors. If I really looked at it from my father's point of view, he was indeed doing this for the sake of the Red Minghui. I didn't want to get caught up in the struggle between the two families anymore. I was really tired. I might as well quietly live my own life with Han Hao. Following the coordinates given to me by the Red Baron, I arrived at a warehouse on the top floor. When I opened the door, I saw that the Red Baron had really taken Secretary Li to hide here. Secretary Li was sitting in a corner, her clothes tattered. The Red Baron was also covered in a lot of dust. She was twisting her wrist as if she was injured. I closed the door and looked at the Red Baron. "What's wrong? Are you injured?" The Red Baron turned to look at me and said softly, "No. Just now, a group of the president's subordinates chased after us. They wanted to take away Secretary Li. I fought with them. It's been a long time since I fought, so I'm a bit rusty." In the end, I accidentally sprained my wrist. The Red Baron looked at me and scratched her head with a smile. She looked really cute. I let out a long breath and said, "Thank goodness you're not injured. If you were, I would definitely feel bad. But why is she in such a tattered state?" I pointed at Secretary Li. She was still sitting in the corner, trembling. The Red Baron turned to look at her and said, "Oh, her. Maybe I used too much strength when I was protecting her. She probably rolled on the ground a few times and became like this. It's okay. She didn't suffer any serious injuries. She should still be able to walk. Maybe she's just too scared." "Red Baron, contact the Duanmu Quebec. I want to bring Secretary Li over. I'll call Han Hao to pick us up later. It's better if we have more people. Also, if I go to see the Duanmu K, I should let Han Hao be present. That way he won't get the wrong idea." The Red Baron looked at me in shock. She said softly, "The president agreed to let you hand her over to the Kurosawa? This doesn't seem like his style of doing things. Why would he agree so easily? If we hand Secretary Li over to the Kurosawa, it would be the same as indirectly telling the Kurosawa that the Red Minghui was behind all this. Duanmu Tachio might turn against us. The president should be able to predict the consequences. I nodded and said, Father, you're right. I gave up my status as the successor of the Red Minghui in exchange for the right to take her away. I lost money to the Duanmu Tachio and the others. I have to compensate them. This is the only thing I can do. Although I'm only handing her over to the Kurosawa, and I don't know what the Kurosawa will do, I've already done my best. I can't just end Secretary Lee's statement. That's not something I can do. What? You gave up your status as the successor. Why did you do that? The president has been running the Red Minghui for so long, and he's been waiting for you to take over. If you give up so easily, he must be very sad. The Red Baron looked at me in shock. She couldn't believe it at all. I looked at her and smiled bitterly. There's nothing I can do. This is what I should do. I can't just ignore it for my own benefit. That's not my personality. You've been with me for so long, so you should know me. If you feel like you've been implicated, you can choose not to follow me. I won't blame you. The Red Baron thought for a moment. Then she smiled at me and said, What choice do I have? Ever since I decided to follow you, I've never done anything I regret. No matter what I do, I'll always be with you. I'll use my life to accompany you. I can promise you that. I walked up to the Red Baron and hugged her tightly. Thank you, Red Baron, I said softly. Thank you, Red Baron. Thank you for supporting my willful decision without hesitation. Thank you. I hugged the Red Baron as tears streamed down my face. They weren't tears of sadness, but tears of happiness. The Red Baron left the Red Minghui with me. She might not even have an income. Although she didn't spend much money, this was a materialistic society. How could she support herself without an income? The Red Baron patted my shoulder gently. All right, Mississippi. There's no time to be sentimental. You should quickly contact Han Hao. I'll give Yang Shiza a call too. I looked at her in confusion. The Red Baron saw my confusion. She smiled and said, I have to tell him that I've lost my job. He has to prepare to support me. Support you? Heavens, how far have you two progressed? How come I don't know anything about it? Don't tell me you two have already pledged yourselves to each other. I looked at the Red Baron in confusion. It seemed that she was about to get married. Now's not the time to talk about this. I'll tell you in detail when I have the chance. Chapter 270. It was true that we shouldn't stay here for too long. If Father went back on his words, I might not be able to take Secretary Lee with me. I nodded and followed the Red Baron out of the warehouse. We chose the escape staircase from the back door and left Red Minghui. No one followed us and no one saw us. I guess that it was because of Father's orders. Before we left Red Minghui, I told Han Hao the details of what happened. Han Hao was already waiting for us at the corner of Red Minghui. He also told me that Xinyao heard that I was going to bring the culprit who framed the Kurosawa to the Kurosawa, so she followed along. Of course, Suri was also by her side. The Red Baron also contacted Yang Shiza, and he also drove over and waited for us at the same place. After we appeared, we got in the car and drove to the Kurosawa Guild Hall. Han Hao was afraid that the women would be in danger, so he arranged for us to sit in one car. The men escorted Secretary Lee into the other car. Because we were afraid that Father would send people to tail us, we deliberately chose two routes. We took the shorter route, while Han Hao and the others took the longer route. However, they would drive faster, so we estimated that the two routes would converge at around the same time. Everything went according to plan, and we arrived at the entrance of Kurosawa at the scheduled time. After waiting for less than 2 minutes, Han Hao's car also arrived. We got out of the car and stood at the entrance of the Black Nightmare Society. To be honest, I've stayed in the Duanmu family for such a long time, but I've never been to the Black Nightmare Society. The main door of the Black Nightmare Society was shut tight, and no one came in or out. At this moment, Surui walked to the front and pushed the door open. The few of us followed behind him and walked in, entering the interior of the Black Nightmare Society. It was a courtyard house, and the innermost building was a large building. Despite the size of the courtyard, I didn't see many people. The entire courtyard was cold and cheerless. I turned to look at Xinyao. She sighed and said, "Ever since the Black Nightmare Group's incident, the society has become like this. There aren't many people left, and only a few senior figures are still in the society. After father fell ill, only brother was still busy here, and no one came to the door. It's natural that it's cold and cheerless." Suri walked to Xinyao's side and put his arm around her shoulder. He looked at me and said, "Miss, Xinyao's condition is still unstable. I want to take her home to rest first. If there's anything, please call me. I don't want Xinyao to see such a heart-wrenching scene. After all, it will affect her and the child." I nodded and looked at Suri. "All right, thank you for your hard work. Hurry and take Xinyao home to rest. Can handle this. You don't need to worry. If anything happens to Xinyao, remember to call me." Suri nodded and left with his arm around Xinyao. The few of us followed Su Rui's instructions before he left and found the office area of the Black Nightmare Society. The entire building was lifeless. We found Duanmu Kei's office. The door was ajar, so he should be inside. Han Hao knocked on the door and pushed it open. The few of us walked in. When we entered, I saw Duanmu Quebec. He was sitting in front of his desk, which was filled with all sorts of documents. He had his head buried in something, and did not raise his head to look at us. He seemed to have heard the door open, and he said softly, "What's the matter?" Han Hao glanced at me. I knew he wanted me to speak. I took a step forward and looked at Duanmu Quebec. "Xiao Kei, I brought someone with me." Duanmu Kei seemed to recognize my voice. He raised his head and looked at me. Then he looked at the people next to me and said softly, "Xiao Li, why are you here? Who did you bring?" The Red Baron brought Secretary Li in front of Duanmu Quebec. I looked at Duanmu Kei and said, "This is Secretary Li. She single-handedly caused all of the Kurosawa's problems. I've brought her here for you to deal with." Suddenly, Secretary Li looked at Duanmu Kei as if she had gone crazy and shouted, "I've been wronged. I did all of this because the Red Minghui told me to do it. It was the Red Minghui who told me to steal your funds and sell your shares. They told me to do all of this. I was forced to do all of this. Don't hurt me. I'm telling the truth. Please believe me." Duanmu Kei looked at her and then at me. His eyes seemed to want an explanation. I sighed and turned to look at Han Hao. "Can I talk to Xiao Kei alone for a while?" Han Hao looked at me and nodded. I turned to the Red Baron and said, "Red Baron, make sure to keep an eye on Secretary Li. Don't let her escape. After I'm done talking with Xiao Kei, I'll hand her over to the Kurosawa." The Red Baron nodded, and all of them left Duanmu Kei's office. I sat on the chair across from Duanmu Quebec. He reached out to take a glass of water and handed it to me. He said softly, "I've already arranged for someone to receive you outside. Is what Secretary Li said true? Was it really father who did this?" I clenched my fists and looked at Duanmu Quebec. "Yes, I don't want to deny this, but I hope you can listen to my explanation. It's true that this Secretary Li was arranged by my father to go to the Kurosawa. She was also the one who stole the Kurosawa's funds and sold the Kurosawa shares. Moreover, these shares, no matter how many times they changed hands, were ultimately bought by Red Minghui. Even though I only found out about this recently, I'm very sorry for what my father did. I'm sorry for what happened to your family. I know that it won't be easy to get my father to return all of the shares to you, but these are two different matters. I've already brought Secretary Li from my father and handed her over to you. I hope you can give me some time to persuade my father to return the shares to you. Please give me some time." I looked at Duanmu Kei with sincerity. Duanmu Kei thought for a moment. He looked at me and said, "No need. You don't have to return the shares." I pursed my lips and looked at Duanmu Quebec. "Xiao Kei, are you angry?" Now isn't the time to let your emotions affect your decisions. This matter concerns your family. If your family falls like this, are you willing to accept it? This isn't the result you want. Don't worry, I will definitely persuade father to return the shares to you. Please believe me. Duanmu-ke looked at me and smiled. Idiot, I've never doubted you. But what I want to say is that there's no need to return the shares to us. Father only bought a loss-making project, which is a good thing for us. Chapter 271. I was stunned. I looked at Duanmu-ke and said softly, "What do you mean? Don't tell me you don't want to hold her accountable." Duanmu-ke smiled and said, "Of course we will hold her accountable, but we don't want to hold the Red Ming-hui accountable. Actually, father's acquisition of the shares and projects of the Black Nightmare Group was a loss. That is to say, even if it reaches the Red Ming-hui, these projects may not necessarily bring you profits. To put it bluntly, they may even cause you to lose even more money. The funds from father's acquisition of these projects is just enough for us to maintain our operations in Kurosawa. That is enough." Xiao-ke. I looked at Duanmu-ke and felt that he wasn't very happy to say this. Duanmu-ke stood up and walked to the window. Then he said softly to me, "Xiaoli, I don't want to hide it from you. Actually, my father did want to sue your father, but I insisted that he not do so, so he gave up. Indeed, he isn't young anymore, and after that incident, his health has been getting worse and worse. He can't take any more blows. Now he is peacefully enjoying the rest of his life. In his apartment in Kurosawa. His mother is always by his side. He is living a happy life without any worries. Although at first he wasn't very used to it, and every day he would make a fuss about coming to Kurosawa. He got used to it as time passed. Now, as long as Xinyao has time, she will come home to accompany him. His mood can be considered stable. But why did you give up? Why did you give up on suing the Red Ming-hui? As long as you had Secretary Li as a witness, the lawsuit would have been successful. So why did you give up? I couldn't understand Duanmu-ke's actions. Duanmu-ke shook his head and said, "If we had really sued you, you would have become what we are now. That is not what I want to see. Although the two of us are separated, I want you to live a happy life. My parents and I have already accepted this fact. Besides, there is nothing wrong with living a peaceful life right now. In fact, my father knows better than anyone that before Secretary Li stole the funds, the Kurosawa's internal turnover was already in trouble. So, regardless of whether Secretary Li took action or not, the Black Skeleton Group is no longer viable. But regarding the matter of her stealing our group's funds, I will not be lenient. Of course, she has to take the blame for this. I can't let her get away with it." Duanmu-ke clenched his fists tightly. He looked very angry. I lowered my head, unable to stop the tears from flowing down my face. In a soft voice I said to Duanmu-ke, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. My abilities are limited. I'm sorry." I cried even harder, but I didn't know what to do. Duanmu-ke turned around and walked to my side. He patted my shoulder and said softly, "Don't blame yourself. I know you've done your best, so I don't blame you. I really understand you, Xiaoli. Believe me, we will definitely live a good life. You have to live well too. Han Hao treats you well and I'm very satisfied." I didn't answer him. I just lowered my head and continued to cry. Duanmu-ke gently patted my shoulder and said, "Let's go. We should take care of business. We've spent too much time alone with you. Xiao Hao's imagination will run wild again." I followed behind Duanmu-ke and left his office. Han Hao and the others were waiting in the reception room outside the door. When they saw me and Duanmu-ke walk in, they all stood up. The Red Baron looked at me. I nodded and motioned for the Red Baron to hand over Secretary Li to Duanmu Quebec. The Red Baron nodded and brought Secretary Li to Duanmu Quebec. The Red Baron said softly, "I'll leave it to you. Handle it properly. I hope you won't implicate Milady. You know we care about her the most." Duan Muke beckoned for one of his men to take Secretary Li from the Red Baron and bring him away. Duan Muke looked at the Red Baron and said, "Of course. I've already discussed it with Xiao Li. This matter won't implicate the Red Minghui. As long as Secretary Li is brought to justice and we receive the appropriate compensation, we won't pursue the Red Minghui's responsibility. That's for the best. Milady has already given up her status as the Red Minghui's successor. If she still doesn't let the Red Minghui off, then it would be too much." "Red Baron!" I didn't expect the Red Baron to say the truth. I shouted loudly. The Red Baron quickly shut his mouth. However, Duan Muke and the others still heard me. Duan Muke asked me loudly, "What did you say? What do you mean by giving up her status as the successor? What's going on?" "Xiao Li, don't interrupt. Red Baron, tell me the truth." The Red Baron turned to look at me, unsure whether he should say it or not. At this time, Han Hao reached out and pulled me into his arms. He looked at the Red Baron and said, "It's okay. You can just say it." The Red Baron sighed and looked at Duanmu Quebec. "In order to bring Secretary Li to you, Milady verbally agreed to give up her status as the successor of the Red Minghui. In other words, the succession of the Red Minghui will have nothing to do with Milady, and she will no longer be a member of the Red Minghui." Milady used this to assure the president that the Kurosawa incident wouldn't implicate the entire Red Minghui. That's why the president agreed. So, if you really target the Red Minghui, Milady's personal safety might be in danger. After all, she is no longer a member of the Red Minghui. I think you can understand how much benefit Milady has given up. All of this is for the best of both worlds. To be honest, I don't think anyone here would make such a huge sacrifice. So, Duan Muke, I hope you can keep your promise and not implicate the Red Minghui." Duan Muke clenched his fists. He looked at me and said softly, "Xiao Li, why are you so stupid? Why did you give up your status for someone who isn't worth it? My heart aches for you. Go back and tell father that I won't implicate the Red Minghui. Let him reinstate your status as the successor. If that doesn't work, I can write him a letter of promise." I smiled bitterly and shook my head, saying, "Forget it, there's no need. I'm tired. There are so many things to do at the Red Tea Party, and I'm pregnant. I don't want to work too hard. From now on, I'll live peacefully with Han Hao. Let him do whatever he needs to do. A normal life is better than anything else. This is the life I want." "You're pregnant?" Duan Muke's eyes widened. He couldn't believe it. Han Hao nodded. "Xiao Li is really pregnant. We just found out, but we all support Xiao Li's decision. She can do whatever she wants. As for her status as the successor of the Red Minghui, it doesn't matter. As long as she's happy." "Congratulations," Duan Muke said with a smile. However, I could see that his smile was a little stiff. The incident with Secretary Li was finally over. After that, Duan Muke and his family seemed to have evaporated. I never saw them again. The Red Baron and Yang Shiza were finally together. The two of them never left my side. Xinyao gave birth to a daughter who was as beautiful as her. She walked out of the shadow in her heart and lived a low-key life with Suri. As for me, I gave birth to a son for Han Hao. I left my parents' side and took my family away from this noisy city. I never wanted to come back because I didn't want to remember everything that happened here. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.